recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, this meeting is being recorded. Welcome. My name is Newman, and you've come into the Gimbalabs Open Space for April 17th. The sun is shining. We've all checked in. Most folks are feeling good. James is here. Nori's here. Andrew's here. Emmanuel, Harsha, Monique, and Scott. We are come together on Thursdays to do governance stuff. It's an open space. And what does governance mean? It means that we go through our proposals and things that are important for the Gimbalabs community. You can see on your screen this running agenda. And last week we talked about with Tebo and Q about education proposals and intersect things, which brought us to ada.echo. We talked about these other things last week, which was April 10th. Alex was here to talk about an environmental project. Scott and I have been working on, and while I'm rambling, you can think about projects and proposals that you want to bring to the space. And then we are doing sort of an agenda setting part of the agenda, which is this part now, the typical open space agenda. If there's things that you want to bring up, if you have a proposal, which are in our projects, either in the proposal phase, the planning phase, the community review and consent phase, we can talk about things that are in project or stuff that's been done. So while you're thinking of things, these are the things that we went over last week. Scott and I we've done a little bit of work on our DREP process. I know that Harsha is working on this AI project for parsing the transcripts from our meetings into usable outreach tweets and posts. And Sebastian has been working on a user testing service as a role and a way to contribute for Gimbalabs members. And James has put in for today's agenda a demo of the Endamio project and as a part of the sustain and maintain Gimbalabs proposal. Is there anything, James? I imagine you're ready to go ahead with that one.
Yeah, we can start that anytime.
Yeah. So is there anything else? So I've given you enough time. Or does anybody have any other agenda things to put down?
Could we take a quick look at any proposals that are in that process so we can see them there, and then maybe you can demo the links to the Endamio projects?
Yeah. So here we go. In this, these are the ones that are in our community review and consent, which is a big sort of feature of this space. These have got, I generally look over at the owner and see who's got things. What about this one, James? This is that your vibe coding governance app.
That should be put back in like the backlog. Yeah, that's just, I wanted to share a possible project, but this one doesn't have a source yet. Maybe somebody will pick it up in the future.
And where can right here.
Yeah.
So one way to move things is with this, and so we'll put it over into backlog or planning.
Planning. Yeah, throw it up in the top of the list. It can be in that.
Yeah, there we go. And these that don't, so this marketing plan has been with Sebastian and SEO Mon. He's not here. I'm just going to drop this up into planning too. And what about that last one? This one was Demi. Yeah. I'm going to put his name in. Oh,
And we have a text column over there for people who are not yet in the Notion. Maybe over to the right a little bit more, or it used to be there.
let's see. Hmm.
Maybe if there's no Notion account yet, we could just throw a name in the title.
There's keep
Oh,
scrolling to your keep scrolling to your right. You can add a column over on that side.
Well, let's not add we could actually I like putting it here in the project name as opposed to adding a column because we got a lot of columns. Let's put it here. Demi. Perfect. And we'll move that into planning. Hey, look at that. Nothing in review and consent. Oh, review and consent. What's that?
I said you're ruthlessly efficient.
Yeah. I just dropping it. But that's funny. Look, it gets hidden if there's no count. Ooh. Okay. That's interesting.
That's a
All
feature.
Right. That's a feature. That is definitely a feature. Okay, but we're cleaning up the board. You know what? While we get preambled and get ready for the main event, which is this Andamio demo, Scott, let's recap our let's bring it over here. The DREP process. And we had a meeting, and actually, here's an example of like Notion can be a bit of a trick. I went to a Cardano Go with Professor Mix, and he does his meeting notes. So that's my question. I was like, where do you put your meeting notes? And he does his as a task. And so I was trying it out, and I kind of like it. So this was our meeting this morning. And we came up with a couple of things. And this is actually Andrew. Andrew, thank you for writing about this over the week. The driver of the proposal is that if Gimbalabs is a DREP, then we need some process or role to sort of acknowledge the commitment. And Scott, jump in when if you can, because we had drafted what Scott and I had thought of would be a great process, but we felt like that was too prescriptive. Like we were looking for someone to commit to this big joint process, and so we sort of scaled it back to just being the bare minimum. And so what we're hoping to do is sort of strip out all of our notes about the proposal and make a minimal proposal. And then also changing over to the Andamio model, perhaps there's a project that would require a course prerequisite, and then it could develop into a governance DREP on Cardano course. And then that way, that would necessitate a different proposal. And then another thing is that as we're looking around for someone to do this DREP work, we realize that we're just sort of talking to the folks that have come to the Open Spaces meeting, and we might need to announce in a wider audience. Scott, does that sort of summarize like what our last little meeting was about?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just to create pretty much like an MVP for this. I guess the P would be the proposal instead of project. So just to get Gimbalabs community engagement. Doesn't seem like there's and I think the particular big thing is the announcement, the more broad announcement to everybody in the Discord and maybe even on Twitter. Because like we're talking about the same proposals to the same people every week, and Seems that the people that come to these meetings are the builders more, and let's be fair, unless it impacts what your project currently is or your funding, you really more than likely you don't care what's going on as long as you're taken care of. So yeah, anyway, that's it. So I figure if we post it out to a larger, broader audience, then maybe we'll get somebody that wants to do this.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Scott. Does anybody have any comment or concern with that?
James
Like
has
with
his hand up.
Okay, James, thanks, Harsh.
No, yeah, there's something that got me really excited there. What stood out about the one decision Gimbalabs made as a DREP so far, and we put it on chain, is that we emphasized both reasons for our vote, but also counter arguments. And we encoded both of those in the Git repo. And that's a little bit like what the Supreme Court in the United States does, for example. There might be a 5-4 vote among 9 judges, but they release both, the winning opinion and the dissenting opinion. And so what if, I'm just when you said about having a course about this, what if people could take that course and then be one of the votes for what the Gimbalabs DREP does, you know? And if 3 people have been through the course, okay, it's going to be a 3-0 or a 2-1 vote every time. If 9 or 21 people, great. And then you can even have a project where, sure, like registering my vote might be as easy as raising my hand, but writing an opinion, that's where some real value lies, especially if you're listening to other people and bringing those opinions in. That could be a paid task, right? And so now we could have this DREP that gives people who maybe don't have access to the funds that would make them a DREP whose opinion was kind of sought after in other regards. This gives people a chance to maybe come together and be part of what's likely to not be a unanimous debate. And I think that's the best thing we can do here. And one of the hardest things, if Gimbalabs is going to be as a DREP, is like people who are not on the side of the ultimate opinion feeling represented. But I wonder if there's a way to pull this off by thinking about how those pieces fit together.
Ooh, yeah, I love it. Does anybody any comments and concerns, questions about that?
No, I dropped off. I had a network issue, so I'd hate to say it all over again, but I'll read the note.
No. It may think, well, here, that actually gives us a great opportunity, because one of the things about the process as it stands now, and so this might be a good opportunity to just say, the reason why we're making a proposal is to change the process, or making a change. This is like a change order. And right now, we sort of had it was a couple of open sessions about, where we made discussions, and then and I guess James synthesized all of the opinions and created a document that listed our opinions in this sort of winning vote, because the vote is only yes or no. I guess abstain, but there was reasons for and against each of those things. And that might be a good one to bring up, is to show that old opinion. But one of the Gimbalabsy things is that we represent the non-winning opinion, the opinions for the no vote. And what James outlined there was using the Adamio model, which is a course that generates a credential that is a prerequisite for a project, and the project generates a commitment. I think that's the term, that generates a treasury draw, like a payment. And I think we're gonna go through that, if not here in open space, at our dev stand up, like this process. And this is this is the loop that I think is really, really important to sort of get what's going on around here. That there are courses that generate credentials, and those credentials become prerequisites for projects, and those projects are how we make treasury distributions. And we could, I think there's a real clear path for creating a DREP course that could be as easy as, I want to be a DREP. That's the learning target. But it could grow to be like, oh, I understand where the governance actions are put. I understand how to, for instance, read a proposal for logical fallacies. I understand how to write an opinion. It really could. This is a very seed. There's a framework that can go. This is a scaffolding for where for how things could develop. And I think that's what he was saying. Oh, here's the DREP bit. Let's bring this over. So this is what the Gimbalabs DREP, which is archived in a GitHub repo under votes. And so this first one is here. This was the title of it, our rationale for voting yes, dissenting opinions, the documents listed, and then you got a link to our discussion. That's beautiful. Okay. So more food for thought on the DREP. And what do you think, in closing up as we get into the finishing out the first period in hockey terms, what do you think? Oh, Scott, I just forgot it. About making announcements in a wider group, because it really could be like a more DREP focused person. That's maybe not central, or hasn't been coming around to the builder focused meetings, but maybe somebody that's more interested in the collaborative governance side of things. Yeah, about making a wider group announcement, or sort of casting the net a little bit wider, because we're still looking for somebody to play this role. Another thing is like, once, because the commitment isn't necessarily to write the opinions as this new minimal process or minimal position or role is happening. But perhaps it does need to include someone to write, or this course. But I feel like that's enough for now, and we'll take it back to the drawing board and see what we can come up with.
Progress.
All right. Yeah. Moving right along. Harsha, I'd like to check in with you as we transition.
I don't have any proposal today. I'm still pushing a feature.
Okay. So Harsha is talking about his transcripts, and I can bring this over here. This one.
We know Harsha is officially a dev now. That's that was the deviest thing I ever heard Harsha say.
That he's yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, little things that signify, becoming a dev, still working. But this is the tool just to get this in the recording. I actually had this idea to perhaps bring this. Oh, wait a minute. This goes here. Got so many different web browsers on my. this is his project, the AI tweet generator. And I was thinking about using this for Odin, or actually for the DREP process to change it to where it ingests the governance actions and then outputs like logical fallacies or language issues. I see a lot of
You
potential
guys
in this.
build one that takes a meeting transcript and turns it into an S3 formatted proposal?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we can try it. Yeah,
You
for
just
sure.
had
It
you
shouldn't
had
be
this
too much of a
30-minute
difference.
conversation. Here's a first draft of what you might want to use for your proposal.
Absolutely. And I want to underline a principle that I think it kind of needs to be said. I think that Gimbalabs is AI friendly. Like, we're not reactionary. It seems as though this is a friendly place for, considered use of these tools. And I think in an innovation and builder community, I think it's really worthwhile. Meaning that we're not just recklessly throwing AI at everything, but we're embracing, not cautiously, but purposefully, these new tools.
Can I
I
call
mean,
For
something
whatever
out?
reason,
Okay.
wanted that
go
in
ahead,
there.
go ahead, James.
Well, I mean, a gimbal is a tool that makes humans artificially better than they actually are, right? It makes it look like you can hold a camera still, even though no human is capable of holding a camera still, uh, as well as a gimbal allows you to, for example. So AI should be treated the same way. It's a tool that can be used to allow you to make progress, right? And if we use it right, give it only the respect it deserves, but not more than that. I think that's a good position
Exactly.
to be in.
Yeah. And that's just, for whatever reason, I wanted to highlight that for anybody that's listening, that, you know, like we're on this edge and that we've kind of developed this sort of thing, this posture towards innovation and the AI tools and specifically. All right. So we're at the top of the hour, which I realize that some folks may not get that reference, but there used to be clocks with hands and dials. And the big hand, which when it's pointing straight up, that's called the top of the hour. And when the big hand is going straight down, that's called the bottom of the hour. When it's pointing straight out, the minute, regardless of which hour it is zero. And well, actually, is there? Yeah, I guess there is a 0 minute. And then at the bottom would be 30. So
Hey Siri, what
top of
time
the
is
hour.
it?
Siri says it's the top of the hour,
I don't
depending on
know.
which time
Is it
zone.
the top of
Oh man, it's different than top of the morning. We still don't know what that's all about. We still don't know what that's all about. Do we? Hey Siri, what's top of the hour? What's top of the morning mean?
How's the
The
pain?
spring is always Irish to me. Always Irish to me.
Cool.
All right. James, what do you think? Will you take us through your agenda item?
Certainly. Okay, so we've been making really good progress. And actually, this is going to be our last full team meeting of April because Builderfest is next week. Anybody obviously get together for a meeting, but I won't be able to make it. Um, and so a little bit of just project review is also a helpful thing to be doing right now. But I don't want to do the full review of all of our projects in progress. I just want to acknowledge that in many of these, we've allocated funds in one way or another. And what we now have is a new column on this table that links to a new database in Notion, just listing our project treasuries. Okay. So right here, this is going to be like a drop-down menu of current treasuries that we have on the Andamio platform. And if we look at Asteria, for example, there is this Asteria GL project treasury. We can open it up, but we could also go back to this full database, right? So, and this, for anybody who doesn't know, this is one of the reasons I love Notion, right? I can make a table right here, and then I can use it as a drop-down menu in another table to create a connection there, making it really easy, hopefully, to discover the information you need. Okay.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but so this is a table, but it's also this is maybe some Notion stuff. But I guess did you just click on the open and then that gave like a page representation?
You can always make a new asset from anywhere. I was on the main page because I wanted there to be a link here, and we can format what
Uh-huh.
this link looks like. Let me put a heading above it, right?
Uh-huh.
List
Okay.
Andamio treasuries. But the other thing to keep in mind is that from anywhere in Notion, I can use a slash command. And then I can type
Okay.
page, for example. And if I press enter, it'll open up a new page that will then be linked from right here. But I can also say slash database, where I have the opportunity of creating a new database right here on the page, right? Like in line in this document. Or I can do this one to create just a brand new database inside of Gimbalabs, which
Okay.
then I have access to from anywhere in our organization. So that's
Okay.
how I created this one. I used slash database. It opened up in a new page, and I just started building this.
And so, but each one of those, and that's cool. Like thanks for that. But I guess I just saw the page for like the
Oh,
Asteria
yeah.
GL row,
And then
and
going a
I
step further, exactly.
yeah.
When you make a database, every row of it is by default a page. So I can go into this page where I can make a new database, where I can make a new page, and you can go all the way down.
No, don't cross the streams. Oh gosh, what would happen?
So
Uh,
in Notion, everything is both a page and a database. That's the thing to kind of understand here, and that's a very
okay,
nice thing. Okay.
okay.
And yeah, if you prefer not to have the table view of this, you could open up any of these to see the metadata right here. Okay. And let's rearrange this a little bit. Maybe we want the URL at the top so people have quick access. Here's the names of the projects linked, and then we have some notes about prereqs. And then if there's any next steps, just a quick little place to jot some notes. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
But most importantly, now we have this link out to Andamio. In just a minute, I'll switch to my browser. And I've been doing a little bit of background R&D on just the Notion APIs and how we will eventually be able to integrate them with Andamio. That's the main reason I threw together that vibe check demo a couple weeks ago. I don't have time to build that app right now, but I was trying to just understand more of what I could do with the Notion APIs because our goal is to integrate those over with Andamio. And if that sounds interesting to anybody, just be in touch. That's a project I'd like to get going over there, and that might be a place for
Oh,
somebody to contribute a bit. Okay. So here for now, we've got this table. Notion and Andamio are not yet integrated, but I'm just going to move over to this treasury here so we can look at it together. Any questions before I leave Notion?
I don't see anything in the chat
Oh,
or
did you guys lose me for a sec?
I think we did.
Oh, I just realized I was frozen for a sec. Okay, sorry. Um, where'd you lose me?
Uh, just the last little bit, but I feel like
Okay.
uh
I can hear you well now. Just I'll
yeah.
watch your face to make sure it doesn't freeze. Just keep moving.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, yeah, I'm very interested in integrations between Notion and Andamio. That's future work. But if anybody's interested in that, this is kind of a chance to prototype some of that. Okay. But let's jump over to the web. Does anybody have any questions before I jump to the Andamio app? Cool, cool.
Portia's given the
Oh,
thumbs up. Any other hands raised or reactions? Notion is something that it can be a little bit daunting, and I appreciate taking a little extra time to like walk through it because yeah, it
it's
is a
it's
big
a
part of what we do around
great
here.
ecosystem. And right, its power is what I described, right? Everything's a page and everything's a database, fine. But what that really means is everything is a well-structured data object that's easy to expose through an API, which makes it easier to build third-party tools and integrations, right?
Right.
So that there's like a whole thriving dev ecosystem of like Notion developers who build templates and integrations and that kind of thing. We just want enough to really drive our work, but hopefully it's helping us collaborate better.
Yep. Yep. And, like as developers, junior skilling up developers, which is a big part of Gimbal Labs, not the only part, but this could be an avenue for contribution. So always looking for skilling up, education, and avenue for contribution, like the whole thing. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. You are in the right place.
All right, can you see my Andamio studio now?
Yes. Got it.
Okay. So we have a few different projects with Treasury funding. Now, these numbers are zeros right now because I had to use a really heavy query. I'm still leveling up as a dev. And the query I wrote to get this was really crashing the application. So I'm working on a better one right now. Do not be alarmed.
Mm.
Funds for sustain and maintain are right here. Okay. Well, they're not right here. It's the UI that shows us what's on the blockchain, right? They're on the blockchain. Um, so that's what we have. We don't have that nice high level view. But if I click into Asteria, for example, remember that 20,000 ADA was allocated to this project, and now just 18,500 are locked in a treasury. Cool.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
because people are using it. So now we have this trail of, right, who contributed and received these funds and for what. We can check in on what the task was. We can see the link, for example, in this case that Andrew shared to right here, little chat these guys are having about the task itself and some other data. Over time, we're going to find out what data is most useful right here, and I'm really open to your feedback, okay? But this gives us a place to start. We have a project with a treasury, with a bunch of tasks in it, right? And now we can use this. Now, the key thing about one of these, whoops, I keep clicking there. The key thing about how a project works on Andamio is it's always going to have a prerequisite. And a prerequisite is a set of course modules that represent somebody being qualified to join that project. For this one, we had a very low bar. We have a course called Asteria Project Management that only has one module, 101. Let's go look at that course. Asteria Project Management. Here it is. It says a vouch.
Low bar. I mean, come on, that's a high bar. Like, I'm just not vouching for anybody, you know.
All I have
It's a,
to
it's
do
a,
is I just have to know somebody. Okay, so for this one, it's pure nepotism. All I have to do is
uh,
know a guy, and they will let me join this project. That's pretty cool. But it's a fun. I'm being playful here because this is a fun way to kind of understand what we have, right? If you want to make it really easy for somebody to join your project, if you already have a group of people and you want to say, hey, we're gonna make a prereq out of just knowing each other, you can do that, right? And when it comes to like the ada.eco conversation, some of us were talking offline about this earlier today. This, when it's matched with the mentor and mentee AI matching systems that One Up, One Down has built, imagine if you have the ability to say, hey, I want you to mentor me. Okay, I'll mentor you, right? That's a similar kind of handshake deal to what we're talking about on this project. I think this is fully inbounds. I wouldn't recommend this being the only credential for most projects, but it's nice that it's always an option. Any questions so far?
and so yeah, let's pause for a good bit. Because this can be like maybe you've seen Andamio and you're familiar, which I am. But this is really the point in the conversation for you to ask. Um, because it is a developing thing. So if you have any like, oh, what is this about or what is that about, please feel free to jump in here. And maybe it's all just sort of going through, but I'm vamping to give you plenty of time.
And here's a different view. I was showing you my personal view of how I vouched. I shared like a silly screenshot. But here's what you can see from the course studio view. Here's the 5 people who have been vouched for to join this project.
So one thing to notice, so like in the top left, there's a dashboard, a studio, projects, and courses. So and then just below the main heading there, assignments, Asteria project, you can see that we're in the studio section. It's also highlighted there. So the studio means that this is where you're editing and you're course creating, correct? Right.
Mhm.
If you go to projects, those are those contribution parts with treasury where treasury management would lie. Oh, and what screen are we on now? So these are all of the
List of all
projects.
the projects that are live at this.
And this is something that I just learned. So you change the layout view. So this is one layout view, and then this is another layout view. Um, so uh, I love that listing simply because all the graphics are the same right now.
Yeah,
Hey,
for
how do we
now.
change a graphic? I'm making a note of that. I want to change my graphic over there.
You
Stereo
can.
GL. Okay.
And the other, actually, Andrew's here. Andrew implemented a feature a few weeks ago where now you can click and only view the projects that you're qualified for. And on
Ah,
this account, I'm qualified to join the Asteria GL project because I have that vouching course complete.
you know a guy. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And now I could see, oh, I
Um,
could jump into this project. Okay, so from a public perspective, what we now have is, and I was testing, I'm not committing to this one actually. There's one commitment left. That one's for Emmanuel. The other 3 of you have already done it. And there's no kind of public view of who did this. We're holding back on that for now. Obviously, I'm showing you over in my studio and we're putting it on YouTube. So that's probably breaking some pride.
Tim,
But it's, again, we know a guy. Um, but here we're open to feedback about what kind of public record there is of who exactly did this task, but we're not rushing into that. Right? For now, we know that there were this many commitments allocated and there's one left to complete.
yeah.
Okay. So back in the studio, that one, you guys have that running, and you see how G0 is enabled on chain. I'm not even enabled. So I just spun this project up, but I don't have the ability to publish new tasks in this project. Only Harsha has that for now. Other members of the team can be added to that group. Um, Harsha, do you have any questions from the manager perspective so far?
No, it's all pretty straightforward. Um, although I can't figure out why Emmanuel is not showing up as like qualified. Yeah.
We'll look at his oh, right. He needs to enroll. That's when we'll look at that together right after this. We'll get into those details. And
Yeah.
when dev stand up starts, like 40 minutes from now, we'll do any troubleshooting. And if anybody else here needs to jump into one of the projects that we're reviewing right now, we can stick around to help you do that. So let's look at a different project, right? Let's focus in, well, and let's just show PPBL maintainers for just a second, because this has all the funding. It has this getting started at Gimbalabs prerequisite, which we're going to review in just a second. And nobody's yet involved, right? Now, the 4 people on that team have really good records of everything they've done in Notion. Wouldn't it be nice if they didn't have to duplicate any efforts and they could just pull all that in? But still, to use this treasury, to draw on this treasury for work that clearly has happened, they need this prerequisite. Okay. So what is this one? Let's go find the Getting Started at Gimbalabs course, because this is an asset of the Gimbalabs team, right? It's 2 modules. It's pretty quick. All you have to do is come to one of these open spaces meetings, like the one we're in now. So everybody here will have already done this. And you have to make your first project proposal on Notion, right? This is how people earn a Notion account. And it's kind of like the entry point into real contribution that has emerged over these last few months. Okay. So that's what we thought should be a nice way for people to get going. Um, we should talk about like if somebody is already working on a project, does that count as the proposal they're working on, right? Or do they have to like bring some novel proposal to the team? I would prefer the first answer, right? For now, let's just say, hey, if you joined a project and you're directly working on it, just reference that project proposal. But we can let this evolve, right? And we can think together about how high a bar we want to set. And at the end of the day, it's up to us to approve those assignments. So let's look at getting started at Gimbalabs. And I can look at the assignment commitments so far. And we can see who's been through this course to earn the credentials necessary to jump into any of those projects. So Andrew's got one assignment to go to be able to jump into PPBL maintainers. Caesar's good to join it. And then we'll help Monique and Lawrence get through this process. Any questions there? Okay, so we're going to review that piece in just a second because what I want to show you next is there's a difference between proposing tasks and validating them on chain. And this is very similar to how we handle the proposal process at Gimbalabs. Anybody can draft a proposal, but not all proposals get through the consent process, right? So Andamio is built to handle this in a similar way. And if I go back now to my studio, I'm going to reference Asteria GL one more time. Myself, Harsha, and Newman all have the ability to draft new tasks like this, right? My newest proposal. Right? And I can describe it down here. I can say what the acceptance criteria should be. I can add as many acceptance criteria as I want. I can suggest what the reward for this task should be. And I can decide if only one person should be able to commit to it or if a high number should be able to. I can write my justification here, or I can write description of task here. I can add links or even an embedded YouTube video or an image. So slash commands just like Notion. And then when I'm ready, I can save this thing. And when I do, there's a new draft. We're in the proposal phase though. And now we got to move to the governance phase. And that's what happens here. Okay. So here's my newest proposal. I'm proposing to use a whole bunch of funds, 16 times 150. And that seems like a pretty demanding thing. Now, right here, for now, the governance decision happens simply by clicking this select menu. Oh, that one's approved now. But this is the button that would be clicked, and just like we do on Notion, when a proposal goes from the consent round to active and in progress, this is the same thing. And one of the things I'm most excited about for the future of Andamio is to make this right here not as simple as clicking a select menu, but to make this an embedded governance transaction, right? Who gets to say whether that task should be approved? We've been practicing for this from a community perspective. We've been doing this every Thursday. Let's encode it in some blockchain transactions that allow us to get together and codify a proposal. Any thoughts or questions there?
So this
All
could be
right.
like a multi-sig, James.
Exactly. The idea would be for this to be some kind of multi-sig or multi-access token transaction. And R&D is already underway for that. But I just want you to know what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Still, this
Yeah,
is a
that
governance decision,
yeah.
right? Because you guys are on this team together. If one of you tries to approve something absurd, or if one of you tried to take all the funds in this treasury, there would be social consequences to that, right? So at this level, I truly believe this still is governance, but it's just kind of, it's like it's implied governance, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. We could play bad actor, but before we go into that, I do want to back uh, up. So the governance phase, so that's interesting. So that where it says governance phase down there, is that always what the managed treasury is?
It is, right?
Or okay.
If you have funds, these funds were allocated by our process here in open spaces, right? A
Hmm.
proposal. So there was that high level governance. Then four people committed to that work for that 20,000 ADA, but absolutely no decisions were made about who gets what and when.
Right.
And that's a good thing. Only the four of you should be responsible for that. But that is governance. It's small scale.
Right.
It's just the four of you, but it's a substantial amount of money. And you guys have to decide how to do it together. So now all of you should be able to come in here and draft tasks and then get together and say, okay, are we using the funds the best we can? Does everybody agree that we should approve this, and this task?
And that's only so if you go back to the maybe the draft task or the main uh yeah the okay, you're deleting that task. Maybe the dashboard of Asteria GL.
Okay.
Oh no, yeah, not all the way there, but this one. So okay, here.
I would like to add Emmanuel and Andrew as having the ability to draft tasks. I think that's essential. Is that okay if I do that right now?
Please, yeah. Yeah, and that's what it is the difference between drafting a task and approving a task.
Right.
So this is where we're running into the issue. No, no, we're able to do that. Okay.
Right.
No, adding to the contributor is where we are running into the issue.
And
So
we'll
what is
yeah, we'll get there.
what is the what's okay, so it says enrolled contributors at the top, but what about the list at the bottom? Those are project managers.
This box right here does need some work. For now, it's really just a placeholder. But to distinguish here, these are the people who earned the credential, they got vouched for,
Yep,
and then enrolled in this project. These
yep,
are these are the people so far, and we're going to add a manual to this list today,
yep.
who can make a commitment to a task in this project after it's been approved in the governance phase.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
These are the people. These are not on-chain relationships. It's showing the on-chain that Harsha has the admin access, right? He's the one who can ultimately do the transaction that approves the tasks on-chain, right? But every other name is in this table just because in our database, we've given you the ability to draft tasks, which is not an on-chain function,
I see.
right?
Okay.
So we had to give you database access to be able to press this button and propose new things. That's just Web 2 functionality.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, there's a reason I was going deep into all of these things because the most important project for us to look at today is
Yeah.
sustain maintain Gimbalabs. So I hope that the overview of those two existing projects helps. And now people are probably going to have some more questions as we look into this because our goal today is to actually do some of this real decision making. First, before we keep going, this project, Sustain and Maintain Gimbalabs, has the same prerequisite as PPBL maintainers. Okay.
Mhm.
You have to do those first two modules. All you have to do to draw on this treasury right here is come to one open spaces meeting and submit one proposal for consideration at open spaces. Once you do those two things, now you can join this project and start committing to tasks. Any questions or feedback on that at this moment?
I'm looking over at the chat. Feels like it's good. Yep.
So far, Steve, Newman, Harsha, Martin, and not even me yet, I need to do this, have finished that course and joined this project. On the database side, currently I'm the only one who can draft tasks. So I'd like to change that right now. Is it okay if, who wants to be added? Is it okay if I add Newman and Harsha right away?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
And anybody else, if you want to be added to this, I'll add you right now.
So it seems like all of the, well,
Nick,
and
this would be,
this would be,
Yes.
got you.
so this would be for the sustain and maintain project.
Correct. Right. So
I'm,
what we have
is
left
maybe,
of those sustain and maintain funds are right here.
so we could go over to sustain and maintain on the on the Notion site and see like what, because I know that, yeah, what's included there and what's appropriate to be,
Well, and that's why, so I want to demo this with some real things and I want to bring it to everybody here and say, hey, is this appropriate? And show you the process. Right. And this is
yeah.
to give us, by getting hands-on with it, it's going to do a lot more for us. Parsha, what do you think?
So in this case, say a specific person is like doing like like for example, you're hosting like a live coding session. Is there a way like only a specific person can claim a commitment or anyone that does the course?
At this
Mm.
moment, we haven't yet implemented targeting a specific, like pre-targeting a specific task to a specific person. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at a few real ones. So I have a few requests for funding right here that I added today. I added this one for Notion. The last time I reimbursed myself was in November, right? So here's the December, January, February, March, April. I grabbed a screenshot from my Notion Gimbalabs account so you can see these amounts, added them up at today's value. That would be 1,710 ADA. So I could get reimbursed for paying for Notion. Now,
Nice.
to Harsha's question, once this is on chain, somebody else who has access to this treasury could slip in here and try to claim this. Absolutely, they could. If they did, here's what would happen next. First of all, at the project level, I'm the only one who can approve that task on chain. I would like to give that same access to these other three collaborators. Okay, I think you all should have it, and we can do that. Would any of the four of us give away those funds to somebody else? Is the question. I'm not going to give somebody else my money. So you can trust that I won't approve that other
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
If somebody else does, it's going to seriously hurt my trust in that person, right? So here again, the point is we have these close relationships. And so within small circles, we make certain assumptions and we assume the best. Now, if somebody did come along as a contributor to this project and even try to commit to my task in the first place, they too would at this very local level take a reputation hit. I probably wouldn't invite them to do more things on this project. You see what I'm saying? And as long as we can assume that none of us would approve that task where the wrong person's asking for those funds, then the worst that can happen is somebody can lock up those funds for a short amount of time, where afterwards we get them back, right? They'd be locked in escrow until an expiration date.
And you would have to pay some transaction fee in ADA.
Right. It would be
Right.
spend a couple ADA to just slow things down and lose people's trust.
Interesting.
Harsha, what are you thinking?
So, is there so we can't have the same names, no? Like for example, if I'm minting a token, I can't this so that I can't like use Professor Mix's name and take his money and stuff like
That
that.
is correct. Yeah, there's a dedicated validator and with dedicated UTXOs in it that guarantee the uniqueness of each alias.
Huh. So let's I mean, are we at this part where we could
Let's
see
do
the
some governance.
process?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
some governance, right? So I have a few proposals here. One of these, this one's just a placeholder to remind Harsha, Mix, and Newman to write their own drafts because you guys have all been facilitating too. Let's look at what I wrote for my draft for facilitation. So I made a task called facilitation, James, January to April. Call it whatever you want. There's no rules here yet. Okay, but does that describe
Right.
what this is for? I think so. And what did I do here? I looked at my calendar, I looked at YouTube, and I said, okay, these are the sessions I've done. I added today for the dev stand up because that's what I'm
Nice.
going to do right after this. And this would get me square for January through April for those 15 facilitation sessions. At the rate in the proposal, that's 200 per session. So I'm asking for 3,000 right here for work delivered between January and April. How does that look
Oh,
to
could you put like because that the ADA reward of 3,000, could you put like the like how you calculated? That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah, 15 sessions, 7 open spaces, 7 dev zones times 2. Um,
And I can
it
even put
might be,
the link. Let's grab which one was this? Which spaces January through June, right? So
yeah. So you maybe put a link to the which spaces proposal, because then that would be, you can kind of, yeah, perfect. Um,
and really this is my evidence. Right. So
what is,
I'm writing the task description right now, but I'm kind of front loading the evidence in here. Right. And that's fine. This is emergent as well. We're going to find out how retroactively does the evidence go in the task description or the evidence? It doesn't really matter.
and then what are the YouTube? Is that like a playlist
That's
or
a
is it
link
just
to a
one of the?
playlist of open spaces, right? So you guys
Hey,
can
everybody.
use.
This is the
There we go.
Newman will get paid
that's
for that
me.
one. There he is. We know he did that. Great job.
Okay. So that then you could look up like, okay, January 23rd and 30, February 6th, 13, 20. Okay.
So if I
Yeah.
save this, and I'll ask for final approval in just a second, although we already got that approval, right? There might not be that much to approve here because it was pre-approved and we agreed on the rate. But right here, when this does get approved, okay, approve it. Now it's no longer in my drafts list. It can't be changed, right? I can't get a task approved and then go back and change the details, right? Without anybody knowing,
Right.
right? I have to get it approved and then now it's locked and it's ready to be put on chain. So is it okay if we move forward with that one? Those are the 15 sessions I facilitated according to the agreement we have right here. I'm demoing this so that Newman, Mix, and Harsha can do the same. But does anybody have any objections or questions about moving forward right there?
No, I feel like that's good.
Mix, what do you
Oh,
think?
I was thinking, actually, I was in this uh, thought that we are going to get paid for this sustainable maintenance per sessions, not in the whole. So this is so making a bigger task is kind of more encouraged that than breaking down those tasks into some subtasks. So it would be better to have subtasks, but not on-chain, and all of them in one big kind of blockchain task.
I could have made each of those sessions a separate thing, but A, that would have taken a lot of time to do each
Yeah,
one, and it's
yeah.
more transaction fee. But we always have that ability. In some happy future, wouldn't it be great if somebody different was facilitating every session every week, right? Or took like a month. You did 4 sessions. This is the month where this person facilitates, etc. So we have that ability, but because we're just doing it retroactively right here, I can wrap this all up at once. And same thing with Notion. I've just been waiting to have this demo to pay myself back for those. Um, and so going back to that draft as well, been really looking forward to using this system for this. But here we are, right? I can share the individual invoices, but I'm not going to put those on a database because they have personal identifying information. If anybody wants to see those, we can look at them off of a video. But I hope I've earned your trust that this is a real screenshot and this is what I have paid to make sure that everybody here has access to Notion. So any objections to this one right here?
Wow, Notion, man, we that's a bit of an expense.
It's a
I
heavy
have
tool,
only
right?
one objection. Ada price.
I know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. What's
Whom should I
I
tell?
would have I would have gotten less ADA if I paid myself back a different month, but that's, I was really waiting for what I hope is a bottom.
Yeah.
And well, all right. So that one's there. Is it okay if I approve that one?
Yeah, I think that can be okay. And this, this is sort of a consent. Yeah, this is a quick governance. So,
Can you
yeah,
imagine this replacing the Notion part? Like you could write a proposal directly here or pull it directly in and write this we have a lot of
hmm
opportunities to play around with everything we've learned together.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So LLC fees, I just want people to know about this, and I would like to to claim for April, and I paid these because I was doing taxes, right? And so I was making sure Gimbal Labs was all compliant with everything. And so I paid these three fees to make sure that Gimbal Labs LLC is still there. Now, this is a kind of valuable asset that I am willing to share with everybody, and we got to figure that out. Okay. I don't have a proposal for how to do that. I'm kind of waiting for somebody to come along and say, hey, I'd also like to be an owner of Gimbal Labs, or I would like to contribute to the pledge of Gimbal Labs stake pool, that kind of thing. But I think it's worth it as we start that journey towards sharing Gimbal Labs, this entity, right, more broadly and beyond me. I think it's good just to give everybody transparency until, it doesn't cost much, right? We just have this little LLC for now, but it costs a little bit to keep that going. So I was hoping to get um, reimbursed for this, not all the 2024 stuff. I put that there for reference, but just for these three payments on April 14th. That's 238 USD at this rate for this much. Any questions or objections about that one?
So what is the 163 and then the 50 and 25? Are those
That was, I have to look
different?
up, like, yeah, one was like annual reporting. The next
Uh,
one was having a registered agent who can receive
ah,
junk mail you get. Uh,
okay.
one other,
Okay.
both of these, the ones that were due in July, both of those are related to legal Zooms fees for just making things really simple.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Any
And
objection?
that is cool. That is we're working with like Gimbal Labs has an LLC. That's a valuable thing. Yeah.
So there we go. And just having the record that that's there, right? And now I'm hoping that what I'm presenting to everybody today helps everybody ask even better questions, more, detailed questions as we continue to distribute whatever this thing is that we have here.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, just to interject as it, is Nori still here? No. Um, this is Catalyst documentation. Like Catalyst is one that gave us these
Right.
funds,
That's
and
right.
wouldn't it be great if we saw this from other Catalyst entities? Like I would
Wouldn't it
just
be great
love
if
it.
we had a single button that we could press and say, generate my Catalyst report, right?
Yes.
And it
Harsh is on it. He's already thinking.
here's the
He's already
record,
thinking.
here's the transaction history, here's the meetings we had, right?
Yeah.
I think we can make reporting a lot easier for a lot of people. I think this is really relevant to any
Oh
innovation
my God.
or across, everything people are trying to do. So here's an initial step for us. And I'm excited that we're taking this step, right? I hope people have some clarity about how tasks get added to this list. You could ask Mix, Newman, me, or Harsha to add something here for you, or you could request access to be somebody who jots some tasks in here, right? Obviously, we have the Thursday process of open spaces for building a real proposal document and allocating funds there. We should continue to do that. And let's continue to look for ways that those two pieces fit together. So
Uh,
if
okay.
these
What
things are
about this last one?
well, that was just a placeholder right there. And so
Okay.
that one I left here to remind Harsha, Newman, and Mix. Has
Okay.
anybody else facilitated these last few months? If anybody else
Uh,
has, I apologize.
yeah.
I know you three got
Sebastian.
Sebastian has done some facilitation. Let's make sure to get him in here. Right? So Newman and Harsha did the driver refresh
Yep.
workshop, the first two open spaces, January 9th and 16th. And then you guys took it back over after the first one in March, have been doing it since.
Yep.
You've been doing however many go live coding sessions. Anybody can look at the playlists on Gimbalabs YouTube to remember those dates. You'll see in mine, like there was one video I just forgot to record, and so it didn't get uploaded, right? So if you know you did it on a date and there's not a recording, please get reimbursed for that. Um, and we'll build even better
Yes.
systems so we never lose a recording. Okay. But just to
That's
show you what
awesome.
happens next. So now if I go once again back to the home page for this project, right? And sorry, there's an auto save thing that's bugging me. We got to figure that bug out. At this moment, I am the only one with access to actually put these approved tasks on chain. I'd like to change that, right? And just like we know, Harsha was the only one with that ability in the Asteria project. I'd like to change that, but I'm okay if we wait to do that until May. We let everything I'm sharing with you today give that a chance to sink in. And then when we get back together on May 3rd or whatever it is, we can help make sure that everybody has the on-chain access in the projects they should to actually do the transaction I'm about to show you. Okay. But no,
Okay. So where's which screen are we?
so I was on the home page of the project, just looking at me being enabled on protocol to manage this treasury.
Okay.
Right? And I want to add more people to that, but I don't want this. This is probably already a lot of information at once. Let's save adding you guys here for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But you went to a different
And I went
screen.
to
So
manage the treasury,
okay.
where I now have this list of 3 tasks that are approved, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to
Okay.
take this
Yeah.
treasury.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so look what's going to happen. Well, we have these funds in the treasury, 80K. These 3 approved tasks add up to just over 5,000. So no new funds need to be added to the treasury, right?
Yep.
So we're
Right.
good.
Oh, okay. Right. Right.
So this is going to be a cheap transaction. Harsha, you saw that when you first built the list of projects for Asteria GL yesterday, the transaction cost like maybe 3 ADA.
Yeah, around 2 and 3. Yeah.
Or somewhere like that. The reason is when you first do it, it creates a new UTXO with the list of projects in it. So you can imagine min UTXO for that is going to be relatively large, and that's what you were paying for. Okay. Whenever that project is closed, when you close it out, you would reclaim that. Okay. But here, this is a relatively low transaction fee for me because that project UTXO already exists. I'm just writing some new projects to it. Okay. So I'll sign this. And there we go. Those will confirm on chain and we'll see this change a little bit. I'm looking at Caesar in the chat. It would be a good idea to break down the test where it doesn't reward exorbitant amount, just in case that social trust. Yeah, I agree. We could think about what guards should be in there.
Wouldn't that be a natural evolution? That you first, if
Yeah.
you initiate a treasury, you would not have big amounts of projects. You would have some small ones just to check out if everyone can be trusted, and then the amounts of the reward amount would get bigger and bigger the more trust you have. And also, sure, the better the guards are, so the more prerequisites you have.
Right. If you earn all those prerequisites just to try to rug somebody for 1,000 data.
Especially, you would not really rug him, you would just, be
Annoy
annoying.
him. Yeah. Yeah. So, but there's a lot we don't know about how people are actually going to use this.
And James, if you remember, we already have the on-chain capabilities of blacklisting someone from a specific treasury.
So if you're an access token holder, but somebody is running a treasury, they don't want you to be a part of it. They know your trouble. They can just keep you out of it. Right.
Yes.
And that's good. We want people to be able to operate at local scale, safe from needing to worry about people coming in and, just arbitrarily messing up what they're trying to do.
And
So this,
I'm mindful of the time. I'm
yeah,
mindful of the time,
exactly.
just giving us
Well,
the
we
thing.
finished the loop, right? So this is where I wanted to get to today. Look, sustain and maintain Gimbalabs. We just allocated this much to some tasks. There's still this much to go. Let's watch this pie chart fill up over the next few weeks, right? Let's find ways to use these funds wisely. So that's all for now. Today we covered drafting tasks, having access to draft tasks, and then approving tasks and having the access to be able to do that. Hope this raises questions for people. Next 2 weeks from now, we can take another look and we can look at how to become one of the people who can govern that treasury and some other details there. We can also look at what it looks like to make a commitment and claim rewards, but that's something we're going to look at the dev stand-up in just a few minutes. We're going to make sure that Emmanuel can get through this step, and that'll be another chance. Yep. So yeah, let's do. I'll turn off the recording. That's a good idea. Newman, you can lead a checkout, and then we'll switch over to dev stand-up. Thanks for the opportunity to give this demo, everybody. I'm really excited to have these tools. As a user of Andamio, I have just been so fired up. I've wanted to have this tool for so long, and it feels really good to get to the point.
Yeah, man. Yes. And before we turn off the recording next week, no, it's because of Builderfest. A lot of folks are going to Builderfest. We're not having any scheduled meetings. So the Discord will be open. We can meet, impromptu there. But hopefully we'll use the time to get work on our other projects. Thank you for listening. The YouTube will be up. Hey, why not come down and join us? You'll get to hear me talk in the checkout, which is always fun. And who knows what will happen.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Appreciate it.